In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to do the Snowflake project. So let's get started. You can see that I have Fusion open. So we're going to go up to Create, New Component. We're going to give this component a name. We're going to call it Snowflake. We're going to create a new sketch right on our front plane. Now our Snowflake can only be 2.8 by 2.8. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. We're going to go Create, Rectangle. We're going to select Center Rectangle. And we're start right here at the origin and open up this box. And we're going to type in 2.8, hit the Tab key, and 2.8 and set up our box. Next, I want to turn all these lines into construction lines. I don't want to be able to see them, but I want to be able to use them. So I'm going to left click. I'm going to hold my mouse button down, drag open a window. And then on these lines, I'm going to right click and I'm going to change them from normal to construction. And you can see they turn to dotted lines. That means they're construction lines. The next, I need a couple more guidance lines. So I'm going to draw one more line from the center point straight up. I'm going to right click on that and make that a construction line. Now you can draw these snowflakes freehand, or you can use a template, and I'm going to use a template. So I've gone out to the internet and I found a picture of a snowflake that I liked. So I'm going to go up here to insert. And what I want to insert is what they call a canvas. I'm going to scroll to where my picture is. There's my snowflake. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to pick the plane that I want to put it on. So I'm going to put it on that front plane. And now I want to stretch it a little bit bigger. So the way you stretch it is right here. It's not these arrows. It's this little icon right here. So I'm going to stretch my little thing, my little snowflake, and make it a little bit bigger. Now I can see from this point right here that it's not quite centered. So I'm going to drag it over just a little bit, get it close. That's all I want to do is get it close. All right, so now I'm going to zoom out and you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little arms. So if I divide that into 360, that means I got 45. Each one of those arms take up 45 degrees. Well, I only want to use half of that. So we're going to make another line starting right at our origin. We're going to bring it right up through the middle here. I'm going to right click on that and make that construction line. And now I'm going to dimension from that vertical line that I set up to that construction line. And I know that has to be half of 45. So I'm going to type in 45, divide by 2. So this is the area that I want to work in right here between these two lines, this line here and this second line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my lines. I'm going to start right on that line right here. So it's going to be critical. I'm going to bring my cursor down and I'm just going to kind of trace over with these lines. I don't have to be exact because I'm going to come back and put some constraints on these and some dimensions. I'll plop these in real quick. And where I ended up, I want to make sure I'm back on that line. I'm going to come down here. I got a couple more lines. I'm going to start on this line right here. I'm going to bring it down and I want to make sure that I end right on that line. That's going to be critical. So I had to put some constraints in here and you can see that I already have a few of them up in here. I have a perpendicular and I have a couple parallels, which is good. That's what I want. I'm going to first go up here to collinear and I want to make all these lines line up because I want to make it look real nice. So I'm going to make that line and that line collinear and I'll make this line and this line collinear and kind of line them up. Yes, it moved it in, but I'm okay with that. I want a thicker neck here. So I'm looking pretty good. I'm going to make some lines parallel. So I'm going to go parallel and maybe I'll make this line and this line parallel. I'll maybe make this line and this line parallel and then this line and that line. I'll make all those lines parallel. So it's going to look kind of nice. Maybe I'll come back and even these slanted lines, I'll make this line and this line parallel. So it's looking pretty good. It's close to where I want to be. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So now I've just made half of this arm. I need to make the other half. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go over to create. I'm going to go down to mirror. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag open a box and grab all those lines that I just created. Make sure that I grab them all. If I didn't grab it, then I want to make sure that I click on it and grab all those lines. I'm going to go to select. And the line I want to mirror it on is that line right there. Once I get it, we'll hit OK. And it looks like I mirrored all my lines. So I'm looking pretty good. So now I want to make the other 8 arms. So I'm going to go over here. And the first thing is I'm going to make get a point, and I'm going to put a point, make sure I put a point right there at my origin. I'm going to go back to create. I'm going to scroll down to circular pattern. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to grab all those arms, all those lines. I'm going to hit select. I'm going to come down in here and grab that point. And I want to make sure that I have 8. So I'm going to change that 3 to an 8. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go over here on the side and I'm going to open up where it says Snowflake. And where it says canvas, I'm going to turn that eyeball off so it doesn't interfere with me. Next, I want to just finish my sketch, and I can see my snowflake. It's looking pretty good. I can touch it and everything like that, and it highlights it. So I'm going to go into isometric mode. I'm going to go over here to extrude. I'm going to select my snowflake. I'm going to bring it back. And since my acrylic is a quarter or an eighth of an inch thick, I'm going to type in 0.125 and hit OK. So it's looking pretty good. There's my snowflake, and you can see I'll rotate it around. There's my little snowflake. So next thing I want to make sure I do is I got to go up and I'm going to hit save. And again, we're going to call this snowflake. But I also need to put your name on it. So I want you to put your first and last name. So I'm going to put my first and last name on that. Make sure it's in the location that you want to put it. So I want to make sure that I put it in the right location. So I'm going to want to put it in unit 1.3. I'm going to hit save. The last thing I want to do is I want to go over to my file and I want to select export. And I'm going to leave it the same name, but I want to make sure that I change this into the format where I can laser cut it. And that has to be this file right here, SAT file. So I'm going to select SAT and I'm going to hit export. And that is going to put it into my downloads folder. And that's what I'm going to have you turn into Teams. So I hope you enjoyed this video and good luck at making your snowflakes.